Hey there, my name is Claire and welcome to my Postpartum Recovery Program covering of weeks 0 to 6 before you jump into any real high intensity or impacting exercises. This is Sunny, he's 2 weeks old, so therefore I'm 2 weeks postpartum and I'm just getting back into movement myself. Even if you, like me, feel really physically well on the outside and super keen to get back to movement, there is still a lot of healing that's going on inside your body, whether you had a cesarean section or a normal birth. We really need to allow our body that time to reconnect, to recover before we get into anything a little bit more intense. But we're not going to be doing anything too hardcore for these first 6 weeks. We're just going to help you to reconnect with your core using breath, TA activation, pelvic floor activation. We're also going to bring in some very gentle strength exercises for our whole body. If any of the exercises don't feel good for you, then just skip ahead. It's really important that you do pay attention to what your body is telling you during this incredible recovery period in your life. This is a really important time in your life to be listening to your body, and if you do correct things now, then you'll have a really beautiful return to movement experience. Before we jump into the exercises, the first thing I want to cover off with you is our breath work, our pelvic floor activation, and our TA activation, okay? So with our breath work, we really want to focus on belly breathing or diaphragmatic breath. This is where we use our diaphragm that sits underneath the ribs to breathe rather than breathing high into the chest. So to breathe diaphragmatically, we want to breathe into the belly, the sides of the body, and into our back. We're going to feel that transverse expand and contract, okay? We're going to do breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. And to start with, I just want you to bring one hand to the belly, one hand to the chest. And as you breathe in, I want you to feel that your belly is pressing forward into that hand before your chest is lifting. So take that nice big inhale, press into the hand that's on the belly. And exhale out through the mouth. One more inhale, press into the hand on the belly. And exhale, let it go. Beautiful. Let's bring the hands to the sides of the body. This time as you breathe in, I want you to breathe into your hands and feel them expand wide. And out through the mouth. The hands should travel back in on the exhale. So inhale, feel those hands expand. And exhale, bring them together. Finally, let's bring our hands to the side of our back along our QL muscles here. And as we inhale, I want you to feel your back expand. And exhale, it should move in. Small movements. Inhale. And exhale. Beautiful work. For the next bit, we're going to come down and lay flat on our back. Make sure you do have a nice firm surface underneath you. I'm using a play mat because it's just got a little bit of cushioning for me. You can also use a Pilates mat or a yoga mat. Try avoid using any plush rugs so there isn't too much softness underneath you. We want to be nice and grounded. Next, we want to start with that pelvic floor activation. So you may have done these exercises during pregnancy or at the hospital postpartum, but what we want to think about is contracting, squeezing and lifting through the pelvic floor, and then also the ability to completely let go. My favorite visual cue is to think about going to the toilet for number one, doing a wee, and then someone walks in, so you have to stop that wee midstream and lift it back up. Okay, so let's think about that as we stop the wee midstream, we squeeze and then lift it back up. Feel that lifting. You might even feel your abdominals activate with that lift, and let go. So we're going to stop the wee midstream and then we're going to lift and let go. Beautiful. If you can't feel that yet, practice that a couple more times. We're going to keep going. We're going to feel that transverse activation now by taking 2 fingers on each hand, finding the bony parts of your hips and just sliding your fingers in an inch. So you'll be sitting in those deep hip flexors on the inside of your hip bones. You okay? The reality of exercise with a baby. All right, so from here, we're going to activate our transverse abdominals. You want to be pressing down quite firmly because especially in these early days, there might only be a very slight little bit of movement as we're still reconnecting with those core muscles. So what I want you to think about doing is pulling your hip bones in towards each other, almost like you've got a belt on and you're buckling it up. So draw your hip bones in towards each other. Now pull your belly button down to your spine just by sucking in, like you're putting on a tight pair of jeans. And let go. So you should feel a very gentle lifting underneath your fingers here. Let's do that again. Press down nice and firm. Pull your hip bones in towards each other. That's the lift. And pull your belly button down towards your spine. And let go. Now that feels pretty intense for me as one of my first movements back. It might feel okay for you, or you might not feel anything underneath your fingers, and we just want to keep practicing. Finally, what we want to do is connect our diaphragmatic breath with our transverse activation and our pelvic floor activation. Now, as we've spoken through this, you might be able to see that the activation of your pelvic floor and your transverse is very much connected, and that helps to simplify it, okay? So what I want you to do, bring your hands to the side of your ribs. Take a nice big inhale as we prepare. As you exhale, I want you to lift through the pelvic floor. So squeeze and lift, draw your hip bones in. And inhale, let everything go. Ribs expand. Exhale, we squeeze the pelvic floor, we lift, hip bones draw in. And inhale, let go. Let's do that for a total of 1 minute. You feel your glutes squeezing on that exhale, try and relax them and just focus on that pelvic floor and that wrapping of your transverse. Beautiful work. For weeks 1 and weeks 2, this is extent of the activation exercises that we're going to focus on. Reconnecting with our breath and our core and our pelvic floor. This is going to really prep us for those first few exercises that we start to introduce once we enter the 3rd week of our postpartum recovery. See you guys then.